Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Smite Console World Championship Finals, live from Mixer presents HRX. Big games today. Your first team, they are the defending World Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, Flashpoint Wolves. And their opponents, the top contender, the regular season team to beat, it's Astral Authority. Give it up for these teams and players doing battle today. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna start this with the desk. Take it away, Kelly Link.
Thank you so much, Bart, and welcome everyone to the pre-game Mixer show. HRX presented by Mixer. Everyone, it's been an exciting weekend so far, and we're finally at the grand finals day.
A lot of upsets in the PC side, but we're starting off with console. Two teams that you've been a part of here inbound, both Astral Authority and Flashpoint. How are you feeling today?
Feeling good. These are both all my friends. I like playing with all of them. They're both very good teams, very good players. I'm excited to see how it plays.
Now let's take a quick look at the bracket to see what these teams had to do to get here and prove themselves as the best console team in the world. During the placement matches, we saw InControlled beat out Insomnia 2-0, and Flashpoint's doing the same to Noxious on the bottom side, but then Astral Authority took down InControl and Flashpoint, surprisingly taking down Team Rival.
Rival was good during spring, not as good during summer, losing to Astral Authority, but they did beat out Flashpoint in that summer land, but momentum still not going their way as Flashpoint was able to pull a fast one. Rival were new to the world stage. No European team has made it before to the world stage, in console at the very least, and Flashpoint having a little bit more land experience. 4 out of 5 members winning last year's Worlds had that experience.
Yeah, Flashpoint definitely came from that Noxious game. They played very well, and they definitely brought it to Rival also, and they've just been on this roll ever since, and I expect really good things from them.
Well, tell me a little bit about Astral Authority and how they presented themselves on Friday, because unfortunately I wasn't here for that game, but maybe you can give me some insight on how exactly, was it a very, decimating 2-0?
It was pretty good games from Astral. They definitely took control the entire game, and they held control, and it wasn't, they were never worried, basically.
Now, Wolves has been claimed to be one of the best solo laners on console, if not the world. Do you agree with that?
I think Wolves is the best player on console, not just the solo lane.
That's
he
crazy.
He is a very good player.
Well, what sets him apart from everyone else?
He's just always ahead. He's always making bigger impacts than every other solo, and he's just basically winning the game for his team if his team's falling behind elsewhere.
It's his flexibility. It's definitely his flexibility, I think, at the most part, because he'll not only play aggressive gods to try to get that early game lead, but then from time to time he'll play the Loki and just kind of wait for the late game, and you never can expect what kind of style Wolves is going to bring in any given day.
But how is Wolves going to do up against Delnyy?
Wolves have had control of this matchup for many years. Delnyy does not like playing against Wolves, and he can't really blame him. Wolves is very good. And but Delnyy did look very well. He looked very good against Preds yesterday, so I'm hoping that he brings some of that momentum into this game.
He did look good against Predators yesterday, but unfortunately Predators wasn't playing his traditional Hercules style, the way he was bringing it out at the summer and the spring land, so not playing towards Rival's own game style, trying to match that of Flashpoint. I think Flashpoint going to continue their own style, their own identity, and they're going to need to against Astral Authority.
So if Delny's going to have an issue there in the solo lane, are we going to see the jungler move over a lot? Jumpahh's going to be probably helping him a lot, or are they just going to ignore the solo lane?
Jumpahhh will just basically get a blue buff and then leave him alone basically for the rest of the game. Kind of how Splice plays on PC. Delnyy will just get his first blue buff, maybe his second one, and then Jumpahhh will just leave him alone usually.
Jumpahh's definitely the carry, I think, of Flashpoint. If he's having a good game, the rest of Flashpoint will do so. And if there's no early game momentum, then I just don't see how Flashpoint can really take it to Astral in that late game.
I mean, we saw in both games yesterday, Flashpoint did well in the late game from game 1, and then game 2 was really early aggression, and they seem to do well in both of them. So is this going to be something that they focus the early game in or the late game? Because they seem to be able to do both.
I think it depends how they want to draft. Against Astral, Astral is usually a more aggressive team early, so they may look to just match that. Or they could play for the late game and just try to coast out and not lose the game basically early just to get to that late.
I think it's all going to matter as to what Crimson, the mid player for Flashpoint, decides to go. Yesterday, he played the Agni. He had a good safety bubble to make sure that he was just dropping the bombs when teamfights were popping off.
Well, we're about to get into game number 1 in just a few moments, and it's got to be weird inbound to be part of both of these teams. Do you feel a certain bias towards either?
Mostly a bias towards the players, not really the teams, because all my teammates, I liked playing with all of them. And then there was just one player on both teams that I haven't played with because I played their role, so I couldn't play with them. But yeah, they're no bias really at all. I just want them both to win and both to just have good games.
Well, let's see what the coaches think down on the stage.
Thanks, Kelly. I am here with Coach Prof for Flashpoint. First thing I just have to ask, what's the mentality here of the boys? Everybody feeling good and they're going to be able to get this win here today?
Yeah, we've all been here before. Matt's been on the world stage as well, and we're currently the defending champs, so we're feeling pretty good about the set. We practiced well, so I think we're going to do pretty well, and the games are going to be good.
Does it help the team that you don't have to worry about Bobby? He's up there on the stage, and you'll have Matt Koiz. This should be even easier for you guys this time, right?
Yeah, we're really happy. We don't have to worry about him being on our team, so we should be good.
All right, well, I don't want you to give anything too much away, but what kind of prep have you done specifically for Astral that has you guys feeling really confident? Is there any weakness there maybe or anything like that you know?
I just think our drafts in general are pretty good. We drafted pretty well against Rival yesterday. We kind of know what we're doing, so we should be fine, like, draft-wise.
All right, well, good luck to you guys in your match. It's always great to talk to you, Prof. Let's get it back over to the desk so they can keep breaking it down.
So, I felt like I was asking you before if you had a bias, and you're like, no, they're both the same. But after that comment...
Yeah, I might have changed a little bit. Go Astral.
No, with all that said and done, I mean, these two teams here both deserve to be here, and they're both just... They seem to be friends.
Yeah, they're really close players, or yeah, they're close friends in and out of game. A couple of them like used to play together also, and then they're just they're the top players, so they talk a lot probably about everything. So.
Well, let's see what the Astral coach has to say to that.
All right, I'm here now with Vision's coach for Astral. The first thing I want to ask you, man, is just how's the team feeling? I'm sure you guys are real confident going into this match.
Yeah, we're really confident. We prepped really well, and we got a strong game plan going in against these games.
Well, I know you guys are trying your best to stay focused. How are you able to do it with Chapo has that sleeveless jersey? How are you keeping the team focused on the game even through that?
Just crack a lot of jokes, just good vibes, and that's about it.
Well, I know you guys absolutely want to make sure that you grab this win. You don't have to give away too much, but what has you all feeling so confident about Flashpoint in particular? Maybe any weakness or anything like that you see?
Yeah, we watched over the games. We went over picks and bans a lot with Zoj. We're feeling really confident.
All right, well, good luck to you guys in your games. Always good to get a chance to hear from you as well, Visions. We're about to get into the match. Let's get it back over to the desk to break it down.
Thank you so much, Finch. I like it. Confidence from both coaches right there, and I do always appreciate when they take the time to research these games, learn from the picks and bans. If you were watching that game yesterday, which you were, what would you have learned from their game?
They play around mid-jungle basically exclusively. Frank will maybe gank a lane just to get a lead for himself mostly, and then he'll play around Crim and let Crim and him hard carry those team fights. Keegs is just kind of a secondary option, I guess. He plays the X-ball to kind of help out the team dive and then peel for himself and Crim.
That's a good point that you mentioned about Crimson specifically, because he chose that Zeus in the very first game against Rival, really identifying the strategy from Rival, which was the Bakasura jungle, right? You have to be close to the Zeus, and as a result, he was just free to do so much damage every time Rival tries to aggress. So I think the main focus is that Astral needs to shut down Crimson.
Well, let's see if they're going to be doing that in the picks and bans phase right now, everyone. We are ready for game number 1, Flashpoint versus Astral Authority for the world champions of the console wars.
Excited to see what direction both of these teams are going to go. I think there's going to be a couple of contested picks here inbound. You were talking behind closed doors how Geb, between these two, specifically Matt Koiz and Chapo, transitioning to the support role, not really known for support. He was mostly a jungler, different style, I would say.
Yeah, I don't really know Chapo's entire God Pool. I didn't play when he played. So I don't know entirely what he's going to play, but I do know Koiz likes that Geb, and he did first pick it yesterday, and then they banned it against Rival yesterday, so maybe there's a high contestant on Geb today.
Well, standard ban so far, no surprises just yet, but with the first phase of picks coming online, maybe we're going to see something interesting here.
Pele's open.
Erlang's open also.
And I think that the choice has definitely got to be the Erlang Shen. He has more early game pressure. I think the Mercury is good for global pressure, being able to make that counter rotation happen. But we saw what Deathwalker was able to do on the PC side, and since then, I think a lot of teams have nightmares.
Well, you guys were right about the Geb before, but not the Erlang Shen. So does that mean that Flashpoint is preferring Erlang over Geb. What does Geb offer?
Geb is just going to be a comfort pick for Matt Koiz primarily, and also it's going to be allowing Crimson some safety, right? Trying to make sure that he's not going to get dove, making sure that Astral is going to be less aggressive.
Yeah, and Crim, on whatever he plays, he's going to dash in. He's an aggressive player, and having that 700 Geb shield in the late game to peel him out is going to be really nice for him.
Now the Jing pick here, that's surprising?
A little bit, considering how early in the draft it is. It's a very safe pick, so there's nothing wrong with it at the end of the day, but what's more surprising is the Sun Wukong.
And I do know Jingwei is Griff's probably top pick right now. He does love it. It provides a lot of safety, and I'm pretty sure they just want to lock it down. But I am confused as why no Erlang was picked. Layers did prioritize it a lot during the entire fall split and then during the LAN too.
I think the main reason is because Erlang and Pele is open, and considering that Astral is not expecting Flashpoint to get both of those picks, and then it'll go back to Astral to get one or the other.
Well, why wouldn't they pick both of them? Couldn't you place
You
one
could
in the
do
jungle
both.
and one in the solo?
I don't know if Delnyy plays Erlang, but he does play Pele, so there's an opportunity to put Pele in solo and pick the Erlang for jungle.
I mean, we definitely saw what Deathwalker could do with
Yes.
an Erlang jungle, so it's definitely up for grabs here, but a little bit of a pause before going into the second pick for Flashpoint Wolves.
Plenty of time right now, 70 seconds remain, so going into the think tank now is not a bad idea. You got to make sure you solidify these next two picks. Pele was available. The Polynesian jungler has a lot of mobility to make some plays in any side lane.
I do like that pick for Frank also because it allows him to play very aggressive, and there's the Zeus to pair with the Geb that Crim and whatever the support's name
Matt
is.
Koiz, yeah, Matt Koiz. Yeah, he loves the gap, and this makes sense because when you're playing a Zeus, you're very mobile, you have no gap closing abilities, you have no movement speed, your only self-peel is the damage that you're bringing, so a gap shield goes a long way.
All right, and the Naja rounding it out for Astral in this first phase of picks here. So it's going to be Sun Wukong solo in the Naja in the jungle.
Unless it's Naja support, the same way we saw Trixtank bring it out in the very first game of the first day. Had a lot of success there, but seeing how it's actually, yeah, I could see it being Naja support. Chapo has been known to play a lot of assassins in the jungle role, both console, both PC, so this wouldn't surprise me.
Alposh, Kuzumbo, Terra, and one last god going to be banned out on the side of Flashpoint Wolves. Who do you want to see this last ban go to? Maybe another mid laner?
I want to see Janus banned. Oboronic is really comfortable on the Janus, and it provides a lot of safety for the rest of the team.
And now Kwang.
This makes sense, you know, trying to limit what Layers is capable of doing. He did run it yesterday, but that was against the Khepri, like you mentioned.
Maybe they're going to be regretting not listening to you inbound and not banning out that Janus because Astral is picking him right now. And with the Ao Kwang ban, I guess they do think that Naja's going in the support role?
Yes, absolutely. There's no reason to ban out Kwang if you don't think Naja is going to be in the jungle.
And I know Layers has a really high priority. He likes picking AK into the Zeus because he can just get in and then get out before even taking any damage from the Zeus. Because I know he used to like that in Scrim, so I think he still likes it here.
Last two picks for Flashpoint Wolves going in the way of Cupid. Yes! Oh, this is my favorite ADC. I'm so excited to see him. I mean, this Cupid on top of the Zeus with the Geb ult on top of that, that's a wombo combo.
It's a lot of AoE damage from Flashpoint, but I think it's just going to be a hard counter matchup against the Jing Wei. You're trying to get the Persistent Gust and Agility Dash combination, but the Cripple Minefield prevents that from happening, so Griffin is definitely going to have to start using that airstrike defensively just to get away.
Solo Sobek, Soloback. That's what we're going to be seeing?
Yes.
We actually haven't seen him at all during the PC games.
It's because there's just more aggressive picks or very passive picks. Sobek's got a little bit of a nerf on the tail whip going from 10 seconds to 12, but that's not enough of a nerf to justify not picking the Sobek. It's such a safe pick. You can never go wrong, and when you're initiating to help your Zeus and Cupid pop off, Sobek and Sylvanas for the pulls goes the way.
Ooh, Cabrakan as well.
Layers, that's another pick that Layers loves to run. He loves running this Cabrakan jungle, and he'll just run at the enemy team the entire time. This Zeus is going to have a hard time if he falls behind against Layers' Cabrakan.
So these are very unique comps from what we've seen typically in the last few days here. What do they provide for these teams?
Astral's going to be very aggressive. It screams aggression here. Cabrakan, Naja with a Janus portal. There's going to be a lot of okey-doke surprise plays I'm expecting on the Zeus.
And what about Flashpoint Wolves? What do you think they're going to be going for inbound?
I think they're just going to kind of play for the late game again. They're like peel late, they're damage late, they're team fighting, everything late game is just what they're waiting for. The Pele is just probably to get them through the early game and then just harass a little bit late game.
So then, Anatoly, what does Astral then have to do to not let them get to that late game?
I think Najah support is the way to go, because trying to invade the purple buffs, invade the red buffs on top, if you can remove some of those red buffs from the Zeus, then I think that oBoronic will have a slight advantage over Crimson in the clear department, then it can look for some plays around the Gold Fury. But Cupid Sobek is not an easy lane to go against. They're also going to have a lot of kill potential.
You think it's Sobek that's going to be support, not Geb?
Well, you never know,
That's
honestly.
true.
You never really know. A lot of teams have been swapping it out with the Geb, but I think Cupid Sobek is more aggressive and there's just more kill potential.
All right, real quick, who's got this?
Based off of comps, I like FP's a little bit more. It's a lot less execution compared to Astral's.
I got Astral.
All right, let's head on over to the casters for game number 1.
It's time to go right into Astral up against Flashpoint. Game 1 of your Smite console finals here at Dreamhack Atlanta. And how could you ask for a better match? Both these two North American teams, big-time rivals between these squads. It feels almost like a run back of last year.
It basically is a run back of last year. A couple of modifications on both sides, but either way, Flashpoint is all too familiar with this setting exactly.
Well, some action right out the gate. Koiz had to be careful as now the sprint comes out. He's been slowed as well. Now he's stuck inside the Tremors. And first blood for oBoronic. Astral Authority strike first.
Talking about coming right out the door swinging, Finch. These teams are not holding back in the slightest. Astral Authority bringing out the first blood can be a pretty big mental blow.
And I'm surprised by this, Taco. The pacing through the semifinals was much slower than this. It took a little while in the rival Flashpoint set. They kind of ramped up and the pace started to increase. But this is nothing like what we've seen so far. These are aggressive picks. You heard them talking about it on the desk, and they played aggressive from minute 1. The sprint to lock down that first blood kill was critical to put Koiz behind.
Inbound kept mentioning that execution being critical for Astral Authority's composition to really work out. And if we're ever going to see this take off, those kind of first blood movements are the exact type of plays that Astral have to keep looking to repeat.
And Bobby was right again. Layers is the one that picked up this Cabrakan, so he'll be able to continue to play aggressively throughout the entirety of the game. But I want to go back and take a look at that respawn first blood once we get done with this purple buff. Get a good chance to see exactly how they were able to lock him down. oBoronic got that last hit, though, that was critical to find the damage.
This just felt like background information and Astral Authority having done their homework, because all of Flashpoint were looking to group up and go for that. But hold that thought, because Chapo could be in a little bit of trouble here, already trying to challenge onto the red buff with this Najah. Great ring bounce, going to get a ton of damage on the keegsmate and Koiz, but now the heart bomb is just too off the mark.
That was perfect from Chapo, because that potentially could have been some trouble for them. They did indeed go for that purple buff invade from on the side of Astral to try and see if they could set the dual lane of Flashpoint a little bit further behind, but then they ended up taking quite a bit of poke. Just barely able to make it out. There is some sustain there for the Najah, so Chapo should be okay.
Jumpahhh stuck inside those Tremors for a moment. Nice little portal there for Layers to get into the mid lane a bit faster. So oBoronic and Layers going to be able to challenge the left mid Harpies. Crimson sitting at level 3 though, not willing to back down.
And they will indeed have to fall back behind those mid-Harpies. But I love this Cabrakan pick. I mean, Taco, who's getting out of this tectonic shift? As it looks like there's some trouble here in the dual lane. keegsmate's already very low and had to use the beads, and there's nothing more there for Chapo to follow up. But who on the side of Flashpoint is going to be able to get out of these walls?
The walls are the problem here, and that's exactly what Astral Authority were looking for. They wanted to be able to lock down Crimson especially, and keegsmate as well. It's never a bad idea to keep the Hunter out of the engagement, whether you're utilizing those tectonic shifts in order to cut off an escape route or even to just keep them all corralled into the same territory. You have to appreciate the follow-up that Astral Authority have been looking for every single time. And keegsmate in this duel lane, he's still at level 1.
He's had a really tough time trying to find the farm. Remember, the purple buff invades have been relentless. They've kept them pushed up at this tower line. Astral not wanting to allow Keegs and Matt Koiz any room to breathe. And now finally level 2 for this Cupid, but it is going to be slow going. And this is a god that very much likes to get items online, Taco, to really start hitting hard. It hurts when you're pushed behind.
But that's the thing, it already feels a little bit like this Cupid is falling short of the mark of what Flashpoint were intending it. Cupid is meant to be a little bit of a lane bully in this matchup against Griffin, but because of Chapo on the Najah, the ring toss has just caused a little bit too much poke damage from a distance that Koiz has been forced more often than not to stand directly next to keegsmate in order to try and block any follow-up sashes so that Chapo can't harass Keegs any further.
And I gotta think the problem is that in an ideal situation when you're playing the Cupid, you want to be able to get those minions to group up, right? So that heart bomb can hit everyone. You can kind of see just now that there are some that can still be outside that radius. So because they have the Geb and he has so little pressure, they can't afford to push up. And that's how Astral end up with another successful red buff invade.
And that's all they're looking for every single time. Hit them where it hurts. And if they keep getting that red buff, Crimson is only going to fall further and further behind. Sash won't connect, a little bit too far to the right. But for now, Crimson still not looking to take any chances. He's been playing off this tower line pretty heavily.
Definitely scary, though, for Crimson. He's got to watch out. That's the threat that Chapo is going to be posing on this Najah the entirety of the game, is that at any point, Crimson could get locked down and be in danger of falling. He'll need to be either very quick or very wise on the use of those purification beads if he wants to make sure he doesn't get punished by this Najah and by Layers once he starts looking for aggression.
Jumpahhh as well on this Pele. We haven't really had too much of a time to address this, but
sure.
Pele in general has not been a very prevalent pick so far for the console side of things, and I think that Jumpahhh has a fairly aggressive playstyle, but at times he can get a little bit carried away.
He absolutely can. I think he's very hot or cold, it can feel like at times, right, for Jumpahhh, where he's either winning you the game like 10-0 and 10, or it's the other way around, 10 and 0 sometimes. So it depends on what kind of Jumpahhh that you get. And on a god like Pele, he's certainly in a position where he can absolutely just run the game if he's able to get out of control. But that's why I love these tectonic shifts. Even if it's not meant to be offensive on the side of Astral, it could dissect the fight, and now you can't dash to try and get in on the ultimate for Jumpahhh. I really do love this Cabrakan pick.
Or even if Jumpahhh decides to all-in commit onto one of the carries, if Layers is able to separate Flashpoint from their jungler, chances are Jumpahh's going to end up dead in the middle of everybody from Astral Authority. Nice purple buff invade coming through one more time from Astral. They are continuing to heckle this jungle for Flashpoint, and Chapo not going to be able to get the sash onto the Gem. Koiz having already hit the crowd control immunity portion of that rollout. Keep safe and sound.
But as they did on purple, they will try to do on red. Jumpahhh really the only one nearby, and Chapo's right there to try and stop him. In fact, Jumpahhh gonna look for the knockups, try and find an escape route, but he ends up getting stunned. Follow-up damage to the tectonic shift. The lightning storm is there, and everyone's trapped in the bad weather. Crimson finds one, and Griffin finds another as Jumpahh goes down 1-for-1 jungle for jungle.
Something out of nothing, though. At least Flashpoint were able to make somewhat of a return there, because for a moment, it looked like Jumpahh was just toast from the get-go. The fact that Layers ends up dying in the process is actually a little bit favorable for Jumpahh in that situation, because the red wasn't successfully invaded by Astral Authority. Flashpoint now have regained control of part of their jungle, at least from this duo side.
It definitely is helpful for them to slow down this aggression, but that started because they weren't able to cleanly lock down Jumpahh the way they wanted. The tectonic shift might have been a little bit late on that one, and even if they do get a good one, almost every time Crimson's gonna follow up that exact way, dropping down the ultimate right on top of it, and then Astral are kind of stuck having committed in, and they take too much damage.
I like this though from Chapo. He's allowing Griffin to get a little bit of solo farm here. Good heart bomb though from Keegs, because Griffin was about to try and play a little bit aggressive up on him in that duo lane.
Dash.
But nothing to follow it up with. Chapo not wanting to commit the Windfire Wheels just yet onto the Geb, knowing a little bit better here, because if there's one guy that can actually survive a Najah ultimate, it is almost certainly going to be a Geb.
That's right, Matt Koiz being very calm in that situation, had the Geb shield there available, and Flashpoint were able to make it out, but so far it's felt like the pace of this game has been almost entirely dictated by Astral. It's been Flashpoint who have been responsive on these purple and red buff invades. We haven't gotten to see much of Marcelo laners yet. They don't really need to be involved, but this is a good sign if you're a Flashpoint fan. Now they're able to grab their purple without any kind of contest.
In a way, though, this is almost favorable for Flashpoint, because there has been a little bit of a lull in the action. Astral Authority, for as relentless as they were in their aggressiveness early game, Jumpahhh trying to get frisky with oBoronic, but Janus is Janus. He'll be able to portal away, no problem.
It's pretty good being able to walk through walls, as it turns out, but there might be more trouble. Layers wants to find Jumpahhh. That's enough to force out the ultimate. That's pretty big from Layers to get that win. They have a small window now, about a minute or so, where they can try and lock down this Pele.
And I don't even fault Jumpahhh for trying to commit the ultimate to get away.
I think he had to, yeah.
I think there's just no other option there. Otherwise, you get trapped behind the wall, and who knows if Crimson's going to be able to try and back you up there.
That's such a good point. The wall has to be preemptive, or the dash rather, or else it'll be useless. But this is a lockdown now in favor of Astral. It's Chapo has to ult defensively now to get away from the lightning storm, and Jumpahhh wants to chase him down. Fields of Love there as well, but the sprint too good. In fact, the turnaround comes through, as now it's Griffin who finds one more kill. You can see Chapo popping off it through space and time, sets up the double double kill for Griffin, and all of a sudden Astral Authority come roaring back.
Everything that could have possibly gone wrong for Flashpoint Authority right there just did. Astral ran right at them. Chapo, the ring toss off the red buff was so smart. That was the movement speed he needed to get away from the situation, to get out of the Fields of Love, and that's the problem with Cupid. For as many times as that Fields of Love can cripple a god, movement always gets you out of there.
That's right, Sprint feels like at times just a hard counter to that Fields of Love because you can essentially walk out of it and it feels as if the Fields of Love does nothing. Chapo surviving there was so instrumental for the rest of Astral. A great shot from oBoronic. He makes the Janus look so strong with that 3 space in time.
He just built up the setup, and it wasn't even intentional, I don't believe. He was just trying to get out. That was Flashpoint looking for the collapse, and Astral Authority just being able to arrive at the right place at the right time because of how much time Chapo made Flashpoint waste chasing him around the map.
And you can expect a lot more of those out of oBoronic. He went with that Spear of Desolation in that second item slot, so he's got some pen online, but also some cooldown to go along with the cooldown boots. He should be fighting often, but Jumpahhh trying to go aggressive against the level 10 GryphonSlays. They've got the Heart Bomb. That should be enough. Somehow Griffin just barely lives, but Volcanic Lightning is enough. Jumpahhh finds the kill.
Without the airstrike, Griffin is just a sitting duck. Chapo and oBoronic now looking to see if they can make a counter initiation. Sash is good. Wind and Fire Wheels is even better, but there is a Heart Bomb on Chapo right now. Jumpahhh gonna come back down, but the Unstable Vortex is off the mark.
And then the Geb Shield coming through from Koiz as well, but oBoronic comes through the wall with the Unstable Vortex. Jumpahhh will certainly go down, and now it's up to Chapo to find a way to escape back out the portal. It's good, and the Heart Bomb off the mark. That's all it takes for Astral to make it back out.
That is just well-executed practice right there. oBoronic putting the placement of the portal alongside of the wall. Chapo knowing to hug those walls, expecting his mid laner to bail him out of trouble. That is what you want to see from this team, and the synergy is obviously there.
No, I would love to be able to listen into these comms right now because Chapo's got to be calling for that portal. oBoronic letting him know it's on the way. He gets back through and is able to weave to avoid the Heart Bomb on the way out. That one looked like a bit of a nightmare when Koiz showed up and had the Geb Shield, but it still wasn't enough. Astral finding ways to claw their way back through these engagements.
And I will say, it worked out in that particular play, but as this game continues to develop, oBoronic's got to make sure that he's being as consistent as ever with these unstables, because the follow-up is really not that reliable typically for a Janus Najah combination. I think that's why Astral preferred to have the Najah in the support role to begin with, and are trusting Layers to be a little bit more of that hybrid follow-up cleanup crew just in case. But you can't ever count yourself as a guaranteed kill just because the Najah is able to take somebody up into the air. There still has to be damage waiting for them at the bottom.
And that's part of what's been so impressive by this, is that we've seen oBoronic do things for the team beyond just the damage, even though it's certainly been there. These portals have been excellent for allowing the team to weave in and out of the fights, and I think that's really what separates a Janus who's fine from a Janus who's great, which is kind of what we're seeing right now from oBoronic, who's 3-0-2. When you're able to help your team maneuver around, that's when you're getting the most out of this pick.
Right now, the Flashpoint just looking to try and make any sort of recovery. Unstable Vortex will clip Jumpahhh on the backside. Koiz could get caught out, completely cut off from the rest of his team. There is no backup this time. Flashpoint with yet another casualty point.
And it might not have looked like it, but I promised he tried to shield himself. It just wasn't enough to save him. And now Gold Fury on the mark. Beads forced out from Jumpahhh early on thanks to the Windfire Wheels, but he wants to turn around on a Chapo. Through space and time, doesn't hit, but it does force him back. The Gold Fury's been leased for now, but Delnyy is here in the fray, and he takes a ton of poke.
Delnyy doesn't even look like a tank right now. Everybody from Astral Authority just looking to collapse, and Layers with the cutoff. Delny's looking to go down. oBoronic going to be the one to do it. Griffin also joining the rest of his team because Crimson's falling out next.
And a double kill now for oBoronic as Jumpahhh falls as well. Flashpoint buckling under the pressure from Astral Authority, and you absolutely know they're not done. Now to join the fray is Wolves. Wants a piece of the action too. Gold Fury falling in the background, and Astral have sent Flashpoint running.
Wolves just got to sit there and look pretty. That's all he's here to do. He's just reminding Koiz and keegsmate, you shall not pass. And sure enough, Astral Authority going to bring down the Gold Fury just like the other 3 members from Flashpoint.
A very strong fight from Astral Authority yet again. And I think you made a very good point in that fight. I don't know if it's just that Delnyy was too far forward, but he looked like tissue paper in front of those damage dealers from Astral Authority.
It's not even that he's building incorrectly by any means either. It's just that this Sobek, despite being level 12, just does not have the tanky capabilities because of how far ahead that duo and mid side of the map has been controlled by Astral Authority. Exactly. So many red and purple buffs have gone in Astral's favor. Griffin's got a 2-level lead over keegsmate. Chapo has a 4-level lead over Koiz. And I know that it's a support role, but a Najah that's able to snowball at this point is just a little bit too much to handle, because that's exactly what Astral were looking for. for to begin with.
No, you're right. It's huge that he's able to be 0-10 at this point. Chapo's impact can't be overstated. But look at the level relationship between Wolves and then Crimson and keegsmate to get an idea of what we mean. That's what helps these solo laners so much when they rotate over is, yes, the itemization, but also that experience difference from their dedicated farm. Delnyy does not have that same advantage. He's essentially at the same mark as oBoronic and Griffon.
Credit where it's due as well to oBoronic. 9 kill participation out of 10. I mean, what more could you ask for out of your mid laner? But I think he's about to add in just a little bit more here.
Yeah.
Koiz forced into the Cataclysm, but that's not going to get him out of danger anytime soon here. Portal straight into the through space in time.
We've also got the man fight over in dual lane, and I think Keegs is realizing he doesn't want any more of this. Heart bombs are good, but they're not enough. GryphonSlays, I don't know if you want to use the Aegis there, my man, but definitely still gets the kill. Windfire Wheels takes one more up into the air and brings him right back down into oBoronic and Layers, who are waiting 3 across the map for Astral.
Every part of the map that could be falling apart
Make it
right now
5.
just is triple kill for oBoronic as he brings down Delnyy and Crimson at the exact same time. One unstable vortex to do it.
That's the deicide for Astral, and the map is theirs. They want the tier 2 tower, and it's essentially just a Koiz to try and play defense. Meanwhile, GryphonSlays has the tier 1 tower in the dual lane as well, and there's nothing that a lone Geb, especially at level 8, can try and do to defend. The map now broken wide open, and tremendous gold lead pouring in.
You have to remember, this is only 14.5 minutes into the game, and Astral Authority have already established the pure dominance that they were looking for with this composition to begin with. I think it's only a matter of time before we start to see the first Fire Giant attempt.
And our desk absolutely nailed it on this one, man. This is the early aggression that Astral Authority were looking for. It's such a nightmare when the Naja is able to snowball like this in the support role. Level 13, I mean, that's higher than Jumpahhh. That's higher than the Pele on the other side. It's higher than Crimson. You can't fight into an extra free assassin on the other side who's also building tanky. He's got plenty of base damage to back him up. It's way too strong.
And you can't get it twisted. Flashpoint are certainly a team that could have definitely pulled off the mid to late game team fighting if they were able to get there. The point is, Astral Authority have full-on prevented Flashpoint from even thinking about the late game right now. They're just looking for survival through the early phases.
And an 11,000 gold lead would be pretty devastating in 30 minutes, but we're half that. We're at 15.5 minutes right now. That's such a big lead to steer back up at 15,000 experience as well. Taco Flashpoint reeling very early on. They've got to start trying to find a way to slow things down, to fall back and play defensive.
But that's the point where Astral Authority have to continue bringing the heat. The fact that they have been up in Flashpoint's face since the very start of this match is the sole reason why this comp has worked out so well to begin with. And right now, Delnyy could find himself in a pretty fickle spot because Chapo's already looking for the sash. No Windfire and Wheels commit just yet, but they have to be aware that Delnyy is the only member from Flashpoint that's able to show face right now, and Pyromancer is going to go just as uncontested as everything else has looked so far in this game.
Should be fairly free there for Astral Authority, and Delnyy at this point has no real way to walk in. Slow going with this Pyromancer. Now that Griffon is shown up, it should certainly speed things along. And again, it's still only Delnyy that's nearby, and Wolves is doing more than zoning. Wolves has locked him down. No dash now available for the Croc. He has to lurk inside the waters, but sprint and the lockdown with the walls are just too strong. A killing spree for GryphonSlays. The Croc has to take a nap, and Astral heading right back to the FG.
Astral knew what they were doing when they were giving Griffon that dual lane lead, man. There's a reason they like to play from the left side of the map whenever Griffon is on it. It's because they want this Jing to get as far ahead as possible. He has soloed keegsmate in this game. He has shut down this dual lane single-handedly, and now he's bringing home the Fire Giant to Astral Authority, and Astral, I'm sure they're looking ready to keep knocking on the base of Flashpoint.
I don't have a watch, Taco, so I could be wrong on this, but that was a 16.5-minute Fire Giant there for Astral. I just want to make sure that that's what we're all looking at. I mean, that's tremendous, the lead they've been able to build up this quickly in the match, and there's still a little bit more gold to be grabbed, about 3,000 from those tier 2 towers to push that out even further.
The worst part about it all for Flashpoint as well is that if Astral Authority are successful in bringing down one of these Phoenixes or even multiple Phoenixes, the Fire Waves are going to be dealing significant amounts of damage to the carries from Flashpoint that I'm not even sure they're going to be able to fully clear the pressure from Astral Authority as well as Fire Minions at the same exact time.
That's a good point. They're not really in the best position for that as a squad. One good news, though, is that if everyone is going to be grouping up around the Phoenixes, that is potentially the case for Crimson to look his best if he can find an essentially perfect Lightning Storm. But he's level 14. He only has 3 items. Divine Ruin and Soul Gem, as strong as they are, don't give him a ton of power right away. I mean, oBoronic with that Spear of Desolation, that's a 100 power bank item that he got in this first slot. It's just going to be tough for Crimson at level 14 to try and keep up with what's being output by Astral.
Look, there are only 2 deaths right now. on Astral Authority. Okay, one for Layers and one for Griffin, and a couple of moments of over-aggression, but that was at the very start of the match. The fact that Flashpoint have not been able to even remotely threaten any of these carries from Astral Authority ever since the first 4 minutes, I'm not really certain that that's going to bode super well for the team's mental aspects in game one.
It's definitely not a good sign if you're a Flashpoint fan. One thing that you can look at is that this game plan was rather clear from Astral, right? They had so much pressure in duo lane right from minute 1, so you can at least try and make that adjustment in game 2, but it's going to be very, very difficult without a mistake from Astral for them to try and slow them down here in game number 1. But the left side Phoenix push is the call. They've got Wolves in the middle lane to keep the minions pushed up there, as well as already they go in. It's actually the blink in from Delnyy, but again, being chewed through quickly by Griffin's damage, and he has to fall back.
Matt Koiz isn't even level 12 yet. He hasn't even had a chance to get his second relic.
That's
I'm
so
not even
true.
sure that a 4-man Cataclysm is going to do much of anything against this Astral Authority squad because of how far ahead they are. Layers actually going to get sent into the base via a portal from oBoronic, and he's still looking for his moment to strike.
And Astral have done a good job whittling down this left side Phoenix without even really there being much of a fight so far. This just goes to show that Flashpoint can't even afford to step forward. And look at this, Astral should be able to walk in and just take the left side Phoenix. It's already down 19 minutes, 20 seconds into the game, and Astral could start swinging back to the mid.
Flashpoint are just scared to fight, and
pluck.
I don't blame them. Layers, though, has been isolated for a couple of moments here, but with the pluck being off the mark, it seems like Layers is going to be safe and sound for now. Minions are pushing in. Wolves going to help try and get a little bit of poke going. Nice detonate, though, from Crimson. I mean, that was the most damage that we've seen on any members from Astral in quite some time.
It is some good damage that will be coming out from Crimson. That is the one good sign for Flashpoint, but look where Layers is lurking, and certainly Flashpoint knows, but it could set up a good position for him as already Wolves has pushed into the back line, and he wants Crimson, the one we said had the damage. Horrific Emblem comes out to force the beads and the Geb shield, but mid Phoenix is already down. Griffin freely firing on the Mad Koiz. That forces him back to base, and a big fight from Astral. They've gotten 2 Phoenixes, and they still have time. They want to come over to the right.
But this is the player discipline from Astral Authority. They know that they could very well chase into the fountain from Flashpoint and maybe find a pick or two, but instead, they're choosing to focus onto the main objectives, the Phoenixes. They've already brought down 2, only 1 left standing on the right-hand side, but I'm not sure it's going to be standing for much longer here, Finch.
He finds Crimson immediately on the backside, and then the follow-up comes through from Layers as well. Right side Phoenix already down. Lightning Storm does do good damage, but all 3 Phoenixes have already been taken. This is a nightmare scenario for Flashpoint as Astral now walk away giggling as they've gotten everything they wanted. Actually,
Every single Phoenix is down. They could bait this right around the corner. Flashpoint might start feeling comfortable. They're starting to push out. They've already been able to isolate Jumpahhh, and he's on the run now.
Forced out the beads very early on to Chapo there with the sash. The knockup is good through space and time. Means that now Oboronic is here to join the fray as well. Unstable Vortex lands, and Volcanic Lightning has to be used offensively in order for Jumpahhh to get out. Astral doing a great job sticking around and forcing out abilities.
But that's all that Chapo wanted. He just kept threatening Jumpahhh with the idea that he was about to ultimate any given second, to the point where Jumpahhh used the Purification Beats, used the Pele ultimate to get away and create as much distance as possible. This has just been so commanding of a lead from Astral Authority the entire time.
And they actually could capitalize on it because they stuck around a little bit after the Fire Giant buff fell off. It's going to be back up in about 15 seconds, or a little bit less, 10 seconds. It'll be back up. If they're there right for the spawn, they might be able to push in while Jumpahh's still vulnerable from having to give up the beads and the ultimate. Remember, his second relic is Blink. It's not like he has Nagus or anything to help him out.
There's no chances of survival, I think, if Jumpahhh shows himself a little bit too closely to the rest of Astral Authority. They know without those beads, he is more than a target. He's definitely got the bullseye right on his back, and might as well paint it on his forehead, too. But Astral looking for this next Fire Giant. Second one of the game, by the way. And not only that, even with the second Fire Giant, it's still not going to be that boosted FG steroid.
That's right, we're not beyond that 25-minute mark yet, but it is going to be the second FG for Astral. No time wasted, and they're spreading the map. They've got Oboronic, who can rejoin the fray at any time with through space and time, pushing on the left-hand side, and 2 members pushing down mid, and they'll trust GryphonSlays to keep minions pushed up in right. Right now, Flashpoint have to feel all this pressure. How do they find a way to respond when Astral are spreading the map so well?
Well, that's the problem, is that they've got to look at 3 different directions right now, because Astral Authority made the right call. They pushed up every single one of these fireways as far as possible. Only the right-hand side has been moderately covered by Flashpoint's Crimson, and still, even with the Zeus, I'm not sure that it's going to be enough here, Finch. Astral Authority are just waiting for a couple of these waves to stack up, probably going to look to re-siege that left-hand side Phoenix, because it'll be the first to respawn, and while that action is taking place, that'll be the chance for Astral Authority to start picking members off from Flashpoint, because they're just going to be scurrying everywhere trying to clear out minions, trying to take care of Astral Authority. There's just so many different places to look, but nowhere to run.
Sash comes through. Keegs has to use beads very early. Delnyy is going to follow up, and they actually get some good return damage on ElSoarChapo. He's at about half HP. Everyone going to sustain back in the fountain, but Astral just want to be here for the respawn left side Phoenix. As soon as it comes back, it goes down, and Astral look to resiege.
Mid-fire wave still alive. Crimson looking to take care of that problem, though, for the rest of his team. But Astral Authority already starting to make their push onto the Titan. Delnyy going to be the first one taken up into the air. Windfire Wheels is good to go. Back onto the bottom, and oBoronic to clean him up.
oBoronic finds the double, in fact. Titan now at half HP, and no one can stand tall enough. Griffon finds the kill onto Koiz, and a stun land on the Keegs to force him back to base. Game 1 in dominant fashion from Astral Authority. That's a big way to start the set.
That is a massive way to start the set, Finch. And the fact that Flashpoint just didn't seem like they even knew what to do or where to depend on, because every single lane just lost.
And it's tough, man. You can see Chapo up, yelling, feeling the energy. That's what he brings to this team, I feel like, even more importantly than what he does in game, and he does that very well too, is that when this team is doing well, there's so much hype. It's so hard to stop them from continuing rolling when he's pumping that squad up. You can see the energy spreading throughout Astral. Flashpoint have got to find a way to answer, and fast.
Look, this is the first time that some of these players from Flashpoint have even made it to the finals, and by some, I mean only one, Koiz.
Yeah.
And he did not even get to hit level 12 until it was way too late in this match. But this is the type of pressure that you have to expect in the finals.
Well, he's got to hope the lights are not too bright, or at least Flashpoint do. Let's get things back over to the desk to break down that exciting Game 1.
Thank you so much, Finch and Taco. Man, you got to think, though, if Chapo's power is actually coming from his shoulders being exposed, if he's like not held back anymore, maybe that's what's helping him be so good.
As beefy and physical as he is, I think it was more mental brain power coming from Astral Authority. You mentioned it on the desk. They should have banned Janus.
oBoronic's Janus is like the best Janus I've ever seen. It looks like he does more damage than every other Janus, and like it should be banned.
It was disgusting. He went 11-0-5. How many kills did he get just from his ultimate? Like, he was pinpoint accurate.
But also look at the Cabrakan, look at the Nausea. Everyone was involved in all of the fights. They started those team fights at like the 3-minute mark and never let up.
Chapo on the Nausea support. Perfect support slash line with 18 assists out of the total 19 kills Astral accumulated. No stopping this assassin support.
Yeah, like you said before, there's just no way to get away from this Astral comp as soon as you start falling behind. You just get the Janus portals, Cabrakan's going to wall you off, you can't get over the wall, you have to break down the wall, which is going to slow you down, and they're just going to chase you down and kill you if you fall behind.
It's a perfect idea. No one from Flashpoint can even jump over that wall. Everyone having some sort of dash. It was a great pickup, and then you got to worry about Janus portals, so you're never going to escape Astral Authority, and Chapo made sure that they had a lot of dual lane pressure, especially after that first blood.
I mean, what do you do though at the start of that game at the 15-minute mark where you're barely making it into the mid game and you're 11,000 gold behind? Nothing?
At that point, it's rough. You got to play a lot of defense. There's not really much you can do, because if you step in the jungle, Janus portals are going to chase you down till the end of the world. Maybe some split push opportunities.
I think it's more on Astral to make a mistake at that point, and as you saw, they didn't make a single mistake that entire game. Yeah, you're not coming back into that game unless Astral lets you, and Astral did not let them back in.
So what can Flashpoints do now with this game out of the way? What do they learn from this?
Honestly, they probably should have swapped solo and support, have Sobek in that support role for the kill potential. If Naja's going to be that aggressive, well, pluck him in, look for an early kill, have a Geb be passive. But it's Koiz. He wants to be very comfortable on the Geb, also trying to help out Crimson on the Zeus.
But
I do think it was a big draft thing, though. I think FP's draft was just so entirely for the late game, and then Koiz got picked at level 1, and then they were just losing all their buffs. I think either FP has to have more of an early game somewhere other than in the jungle, and then they'll probably be more safe, or they have to just draft a complete early game and win that duel lane against Chapo.
Or maybe just rotate early to anticipate that 2v2 aggression, make it a 3-on-2.
Well, Jumpahhh did, though. There was a point in time where they were chasing him down, and then they rotated and helped Jumpahhh, and Jumpahhh was able to get a kill there, but it didn't seem like anyone else was really supporting Jumpahhh.
You got to be able to get some buffs after the fact. Like, if you can get one kill, that's all fine and dandy, but it was Astral Authority claiming the jungle as their own.
Well, moving on from here, who do you want to see Flashpoints ban out besides Janus, obviously?
I think they'd be fine just banning the Janus. That Janus just made that comp perfect. maybe the Cabrakan, that Cabrakan was a really good last pick, but I think that was more comp dependent because they had no jumps.
Yeah, I don't think you're abandoning Cabrakan anytime soon. You just got to be more prepared against the Cabrakan. We saw actually Chapo build physical defense there, not even worried about the Gep or the Zeus kind of damage. He was really just worried about Jumpahh's early game. And Oboronic's ultimates felt like there was a magnet on Flashpoint's heads.
Yeah, and it seemed like his ult was up every 30 seconds. I know that's not possible. I know it's not the case. But every time his ult was up, it was
And that play right there, Griffin with the BM taunt after soloing out keegsmate, wasting his Aegis there on purpose.
But you know, I understand that we all want to be nice and that BM is generally frowned upon, but getting into the mental state of your opponents is a real tactic.